So one of the things that we have to look forward to in 2024 is BP open enrollment. A lot of you may either be on the edge of your seat waiting to make your new elections, or you may just be planning to make the same elections that you've made in the past. So one of the things that I want to talk about today is how to make the right elections and some of the common issues that we see with people and how to avoid them. A little bit about myself. My name is Sarah Sikorsky. I'm a wealth manager here at Willis Johnson & Associates. I have both my CPA and CFP designation. Started my career off at the Big Four at PricewaterhouseCoopers. As a CPA, I specialized expertise in accounting, intricacies of financial reporting. And then before specializing in working with BP in particular, I've worked with professionals at all the companies that WJA helps with, and I do have an in-depth knowledge of financial planning opportunities that each of those companies brings. Our firm, Willis Johnson & Associates, is an award-winning planning firm. We specialize in helping professionals and executives at leading energy companies optimize their benefits and understand how they tie into planning, both tax, investment-wise, and other areas of their financial life. Our thorough understanding of the transitions in your corporate life allows us to appreciate where you've been and where you're going to go. We take the time to understand everything about you by combining employee benefits expertise, financial planning wisdom with the emotional elements of your life, and we offer advice you can trust for financial security both now and in the future. When people come to meet with us, they often ask, okay, what makes Willis Johnson & Associates different? We look at your full financial picture and build your priorities into a long-term plan that's unique to you. First and foremost, we are a fiduciary all the time. What does that mean? We offer advice only in your best interest. Only about 12% of firms, including ourselves, can consider themselves to be fee-only firms. That simply means we're only paid through transparent means and what our clients pay for us for our service. A lot of other firms try to sell products, get incentives, commissions, kickbacks, things like that related to the selling of investment, insurance products. That's something that we do not do. When we make a recommendation, it's advice focused and always in your best interest. Also, tax drag can have a huge impact on your portfolio. So we offer tax planning and advice alongside our financial planning to lessen our clients' tax burdens over time. We have CPAs on staff to aid in the preparation and filing of tax returns. Lastly, we have expertise in your company's benefits. This webinar is about BP. While many firms understand the ins and outs of companies' 401ks, we take it a step further, and we've developed an in-depth knowledge of the various benefit plans so that we can help our clients make sure that they are getting the most from their company offerings. We're going to delve into some fairly detailed strategies today. If you have questions on anything that we cover, please include them in the pop-up survey following the webinar. We're happy to follow up with you. Okay, let's get down to nitty-gritty agenda. What are we going to talk about today? First, when is BP open enrollment? Second, what are the medical plans and which one should you choose? Let's talk about the differences between HSAs and FSAs. Also, what does BP provide in terms of short and long-term disability, as well as life insurance? And the big question, how much life insurance do you need? To start, here's the big one. Open enrollment is February 1st through February 20th. Put it on your calendars, make a plan with us so that you can make sure that you're making the right elections for you. Okay, so what are the medical plans and which one should you choose? We've got three here. We've got the Health Plus PPO plan, the Standard PPO plan, and the Health Plus Savings. This is a high deductible plan. So let's compare and contrast the PPO and the high deductible plan. The PPO plans, they have a higher premium, so that means more is coming out of your paycheck every month. But on the other hand, you have a lower deductible. You also have lower out-of-pocket max. The other downside is to higher premiums, you cannot contribute to an HSA, but you can contribute to an FSA, which BP calls the HCFSA. So PPO, we generally find is really great for those people who have ongoing medical expenses. Maybe they have a chronic condition, they're at the doctor a lot, they've got prescription medications that are ongoing. This works really well for the higher cost, but lower out of pocket. The Health Plus Savings high deductible plan has a lower premium, so you pay less per paycheck, but the deductible is higher. So you may be spending more out of your pocket over a year if you've got ongoing medical which means that this is a really good plan if you're just kind of in maintenance mode, right? You're healthy, you don't have a lot going on at the doctor, you don't have ongoing prescriptions that you need filled. The other good thing about high deductible plan is that you qualify to have a health savings account or an HSA. And so this is something we'll get more and more into and discuss the ins and outs of FSAs or HCFSAs with the PPO and HSAs with the high deductible plan. Throughout this presentation, we'll be talking with two couples, Bob and Anna, Tricia and Ryan. They're both 55 years old, and one of them from each couple works at BP. And really the goal is maybe you identify with them, maybe you're a mixture of them, but this should help you give some idea or some thought to, okay, what are the right elections for me? So Bob and Anna, they're on the PPO plan, but they're not using the HCFSA, and they're healthy. They only get an annual physical. They don't have ongoing medical needs. They don't have chronic conditions, nothing like that. On the other hand, Tricia and Ryan, they're on the Health Plus Savings high deductible plan. They qualify for an HSA, but they're not using it. They also have chronic medical conditions. Okay, so when we think about it, when we think about what we learned about all the plans, are they on the right plans? Initially, my gut reaction would say no. Bob and Anna, they're healthy. They can be on the Health Plus Savings high deductible plan. Tricia and Ryan, they've got chronic medical conditions. From what we said, with the lower out-of-pocket, PPO probably makes the most sense for them. And not just being on the PPO, I think both of these couples, right? Bob and Anna should sign up for the high deductible and start contributing to the HSA. Tricia and Ryan should be on the PPO and start contributing to the HCFSA. Now that we've kind of talked about the HSA, the FSA, what are they? Are they the same? Are they different? And what makes them different? So HSA, HCFSA. The HSA, as we talked about, ideal for people with low medical, and they're on the high deductible plan. Those are the only people who can use this plan. The contributions are tax deductible, which is great. Contributions can be invested and grow over time. And then BP also makes contributions for you, so free money. Take advantage of that. The HCFSA can only be used with non-high deductible plans like we talked about. So the PPO plan. The contributions are also tax deductible. Another way to say that is they're pre-tax. Downside of the HCFSA, contributions do not carry forward. You can't invest them. They are use it or lose it on an annual basis. So that being said, you need to plan very carefully when you make those contributions about how you're going to use them throughout the year. Another downside is no BP contributions to correspond. But still a good account. If PPO makes the most sense for you, FSA plan is a good option. So let's talk about benefits of HSAs. We've got 3. We call it triple tax savings. Tax deductible contributions, which we talked about, tax-free withdrawals for qualified medical, and tax-deferred growth. And so I want to be clear here. We said tax-free withdrawals for qualified medical, tax-deferred growth. So at age 65, an HSA actually turns into something more akin to an IRA. You can withdraw from it without penalty for non-medical expenses. That's where the tax-deferred growth comes in. You pay tax if you withdraw for non-medical, but you don't have to pay a penalty at 65. So this is a really great account because you can invest it and it can be kind of like another retirement account that you have. Let's talk about HSA contribution limits. So for one person, it's $38.50. For a whole family, $77.5. Then if they're 55 and older, which Bob and Anna are, it's going to be $1,000 extra that each can contribute to their HSA. So lots of savings. BP contributes $1,000 for a single person or $2,000 for an individual. So again, less that you have to put in to get to the total. More that BP puts in, free money, can't complain. On the other hand, the HCFSA, the contributions are the same whether you're a family or an individual. And as I mentioned before, no BP contributions. So let's talk a little bit about out-of-pocket differences between the two, because I do hear a lot of people say, okay, well, if my out-of-pocket's going to be more for the high deductible, maybe it doesn't make sense for me. I don't know if that's really what I want to do, but if we compare here, let's just say that the monthly premium for the PPO is $300. So you're paying more for annual doctor visits. Let's say the high deductible, the monthly premium is $100. One of the ways that we can kind of offset the fact that there might be a more out of pocket for the high deductible, maybe you contribute the difference, that $200 per month, maybe put it towards the HSA. It's tax deductible, and then for any future medical, you get to pay for that with pre-tax dollars, money that you have never and never will pay tax on. So if we think about that, by the end of the year, you'll have $2,400 in HSA contributions even before investing it. And that doesn't even include the fact that BP is going to contribute $1,000 or $2,000, $2,000 in the case of Bob and Anna, for free. We talked a lot about the fact that you can invest your HSA. A lot of people ask me, okay, well, what if I just put the difference in a brokerage account instead? Isn't that the same? Let's look at the tax efficiency of investing in an HSA versus a brokerage account. So let's say you do make that $200 contribution per month to your HSA. So $2,400 annually for, let's say, the next 40 years. At the end of those 40 years, you'll have $96,000 contributions. It's not invested, it's just sitting there. What if you invest it? Let's say 8%. By the end of those 40 years, with those contributions each and every year, your account value is going to be $622,000. Let's roll it back. Let's see what that would mean for a brokerage account and why. A brokerage account, on the other hand, would only be $466,000. So that's quite a difference. What makes this difference up is the fact that there's tax drag on something like an after-tax or a brokerage account. That's dividends, capital gains, interest, things like that. Whereas you're not getting the tax drag on the HSA because it's growing either tax-free or tax-deferred. This is another way just to look at it with a bar graph, really losing about 25% of the value that you could have had in an HSA if you were to put those same funds in something like a brokerage account. Still think saving in a brokerage account is great, but if we have the option to at least put a little bit in HSA, we get a lot of value. Strategies when it comes to using your HSA, because a lot of people say, okay, I get the card, do I just swipe it whenever I have medical? Sure, you can definitely use that. That's option one. Option two is we get to a point where we've saved enough, we keep the annual deductible in cash, and then invest any of the overage. So those HSA funds are working for you, they're growing tax-free, tax-deferred, and then you have the annual deductible in cash so that you can swipe that card when you need it. The other more complicated, requiring some organization method is fully invest your HSA, don't use that credit card at all, and then claim reimbursement later for all of those medical expenses. So you have to keep all your receipts, you have to keep, very detailed records, and then sometime in the future, you'll claim reimbursement, and then you'll get those funds reimbursed, but that's after you've really allowed that HSA to grow and compound over time. Other options for spending. This, in my opinion, relates a little bit more to the FSA or the HCFSA at BP. If you find that at the end of the year, you still have funds, you don't know what to use them on, there is an FSA HSA store. You can buy Band-Aids, you can buy Tums, anything that you can really think of medical-wise, you can find on this website. So also a good way to get rid of some excess funds if it's a use it or lose it situation. Okay, we've talked a lot about medical. Let's move on to another category of benefits that BP provides, short and long-term disability options, what to elect and why. As we're discussing this, let's bring our couples back in. We've got Bob and Anna, we've got Trisha and Ryan. So let's start with Bob and Anna. Bob, 25 years of service at BP, annual income from BP is about $250,000. They are not financially independent and they only have BP provided coverage. On the other hand, Trisha has worked at BP also for 25 years. She makes the exact same income. They have both the BP provided coverage as well as the supplemental coverage, and they are financially independent. So let's kind of talk about the differences in coverage before we really dig into each individual's or each couple's unique set of circumstances and what they should elect. Short-term disability is for half a year, it's for 6 months, 26 weeks. Depending on how long you've been at BP, you get either 50 to 100% of your base pay during that period of time. It's covered entirely by BP, so no elections that you need to make on short-term. Starts on the first day that you're gone from the company and goes for that full 6 months. Long-term, you can't even start it until you've finished out your short-term disability. The great thing about long-term is if you're injured and you can't work for the rest of basically your career, it will continue up to age 65. It's 50% covered by BP. You have the opportunity to purchase an additional 10 to 15% additional on top of that to provide a little bit of extra coverage. And again, this starts 6 months after you've been injured or disabled. Short-term disability coverage. This is in the benefit book. I'll let you take a look, but basically this just tells you, okay, what percentage of my short-term disability will be at 100, what percentage will be at 50%. Long-term, this just shows you, okay, here's what the company covers, here's the additional 10, the additional 15%, and then it also shows you what the monthly max is, but also in the benefit book. So how much does the supplemental long-term disability coverage through BP cost? You can kind of see on here, we've created a chart for coverage for $250,000 salary. It's by your age, whether you want the additional 10% or the additional 15%. This is also in the benefit book, so you'll be able to calculate it based on your salary, your age, and the coverage option that you want. Okay, so Bob, remember, he does not have the supplemental. He gets hurt. He's on short-term disability for 26 weeks. He's been at BP for 15 plus years, that 25 years. So he will get 100% base pay for 22 of those weeks, 50% for 4 of those weeks. So for those 6 months, he comes out just maybe about $10,000 short of his normal salary. So not a big change there. So let's say after those 6 months, we're not expecting him to recover anytime soon. He goes on long-term disability. That's 50% of his eligible pay because he did not make the election to have supplemental insurance. So that's half of his pay, half of the 6-month pay of $125, $62.5. That hurts a lot more. And then it will get even worse if he continues that way, because then he'd only be making $125 a year going forward. Let's say Trisha gets hurt, stays hurt, same kind of deal as Bob, but she has the supplemental. So let's start with the short-term disability. She's going to get the exact same coverage that Bob got. Long-term, again, same BP coverage at that 50%, but she's got the extra coverage. So annually, typically, Trisha would get $250,000. What happens when she's on long-term? So what she gets from BP without the supplemental for the entire year, so 6 months short-term, 6 months long-term, $177,000. But with her supplemental coverage, she's going to get a total of $196,000. So about $20,000 extra. That's quite a bit. And so one of the things that can help cover, property taxes, things like that. So it's definitely something that can help out if you're in an expense bind. And one of the things we think about with whether Bob or even Trisha has the right amount of coverage is, one, we said that Trisha is financially independent. So if she got hurt tomorrow and couldn't work, she probably doesn't need the additional supplemental coverage. BP's plain boring plan will probably work. Bob, on the other hand, is not financially independent. So if he was hurt, didn't have the supplemental coverage, things would have to change for him. Expenses would have to go down. Maybe Anna would have to get a job or even a second job. So things that we think about for disability, and not a lot of people think about disability, right? They think about what's coming next, which is life insurance. And I get the question all the time, how much do you need? Here's what BP offers in terms of life insurance. They offer double the base salary. They also do something very similar for accidental death. And then we have dismemberment. So let's bring our couples back one more time. We've got Bob and Anna, Trish and Ryan. Let's look at their situations. How much life insurance do they need? Bob and Anna, savings of $1 million. We already know his salary, but going out the door each year with expenses, they've got $150,000 going out. He has not elected any additional life insurance coverage on top of what BP already provides. If Bob passes away unexpectedly tomorrow, BP will pay Anna and the kids $500,000 from the basic life insurance coverage. So how long will their current savings plus the payout last? Because Bob was the family's breadwinner, these funds will only last the family around 14 years. So Anna has a few pretty hard options: drastically reduce expenses or get a job. So that puts her in a very difficult place because she's now also the sole caregiver. So one of the things that we would think about for them, because they're not financially independent yet, is maybe electing some of the additional life insurance that BP provides. Trish and Ryan, they have $4 million in savings instead. Remember, they're financially independent. And they've elected the additional coverage. You can see 5 times the coverage. So one of the things we think about, which is a little bit different for this couple, is, okay, is 5 times too much? And one of the things that I focus on when I say that is financial independence. They're financially independent. So if Trisha passed away tomorrow, they actually don't need the life insurance coverage. It would just make people more comfortable. So really, when I'm thinking about this, they can probably get rid of the additional life insurance that they've paid for. They can go with just the regular BP coverage because they have enough to retire today and be fine for the rest of their lives. This is just a chart based on $250,000 salary. This is for the additional coverage on a monthly basis for age. This is also in the BP benefit book, so you can do this for yourself. And then this talks a little bit about, what if you were to elect to make the life insurance permanent if you leave BP? Obviously, if you leave and you're still going on with your career, this could be a good option to explore. Maybe it's cheaper than outside options. Definitely something to research. However, if you are retiring, it doesn't always make sense to keep life insurance because, again, as I mentioned, if you're retiring, you're financially independent. And we think about life insurance as human capital replacement. So if you're not working, then there's nothing to replace. So one of the things I like to talk about too is, how to compare life insurance, how to compare coverage. First, we got to determine what we need, find the gap. If something happened to you tomorrow, what's the gap that you need to fill? Look at what BP offers, but also look outside. Where can you get good coverage for a lower cost? So make sure you do your research, get a plan in place, but also reevaluate it regularly because as you get closer to retirement, you'll need less. So you want to make sure you're not pushing too much money out the door for a policy that's higher than you need. And then ask your advisor, someone like ourselves, to walk you through coverage options. That's kind of what we're here for because we look at your entire financial plan. So bringing it back to how we operate with our clients, we don't sell insurance. We look at options so we can provide you with the best path forward. Really, what that means is we're doing everything in your best interest. So when we are talking about what this means for you, it really means this is complicated. There's a lot of different options here. So make sure you're reaching out to somebody like ourselves so that we can help walk you through all of this and make sure that you're making the elections that are in your best interest. And just bringing it back, I do think WJ as a company is different. We work in your best interest. We have a deep understanding of your company benefits. This one in particular, BP. And then we also do tax preparation and filing, which differentiates us from other financial advisor companies. So if you have questions, please include them in the pop-up survey following the webinar. A member of our team will reach out to you with a detailed answer. You can also follow me on LinkedIn for our latest articles and informational content. As a reminder, if you liked what you heard today, we do offer a complimentary first meeting. We'll look at your entire financial picture, company benefits, compensation. We'll also look at tax planning and optimization for your specific situation, as well as an investment analysis for you. Thanks for joining. I hope it was informative.